Welcome to Conversations in Mind. This is a space for conscious inquiry, where metaphysics, new thought, and the science of mind meet real life. In a world calling for deeper awareness, we explore the nature of consciousness, the power of thought, and the presence of spirit moving through everyday experience. And now, here are your hosts, Barb Bue and Mark Gilbert.
Well, hello, everybody. Thanks for coming back, and welcome if you're new to our program, Conversations in Mind, where we ask this question: what if your mind is more than just a collection of thoughts? What if it's the gateway to a new way of living or a new way of being, or maybe today finding some new joy and happiness? I'm Reverend Barb. I'm joined by my friend and fellow minister, Reverend Mark Gilbert, and we get together every week to seek to demystify the study of new thought, bring some practical application to it, bring some deeper thought to it, and then to dive into the science and soul of consciousness. So if you're a longtime seeker, welcome. If you're curious about the power of perspective, welcome. Let's get into the mind. Today, while we were both joking before the show about kind of wanting to take a nap this afternoon, we're going to talk about joy. Let me check on it. Joy and wonder and awe as a spiritual practice. And
what a wonderful topic.
Pardon me?
I said, what a wonderful topic.
What a good topic. Or a spiritual discipline. Yeah, I've been on this a little bit recently, I have to say, in my public speaking and probably even in here the last few weeks. Like we got to get our happy back. Right? Collective. I mean, there's a spiritual discipline, spiritual practice of these things. There's what I consider to be sort of resistance and political pushback in being happy and not allowing what's going on in the world to take us to such a deep and dark place that we're not responding anymore. Which is sometimes, I think, the point of all the media around everything all the time. But what do you think about all this?
One of the things
You're a happy guy generally.
I typically am. And I think as I get older, I realize and I make a lot of my decisions on what I want to spend my time on. And I ask the question, do I enjoy this? Does this bring me joy? Does this, feed my soul? And I sometimes let go of things when I think they don't feed my soul, or maybe they did and they're no longer doing that. Maybe something that was mine to do, it was mine to experience and move through and then let go of. So I have this sort of yardstick of like looking at, does this bring, joy to my life and more life to my life,
Right. More living, more aliveness.
Yeah, and I have to, and sometimes you balance that off by the fact that we live in a crazy and strange time right now, politically and in the world and all the world of events. And as much as we can look at the physical world and see stuff that's crazy going on, how can we create a life for us that is not taken down the hole of darkness and despair that a lot of people seem to go through with the world events? And so
it doesn't mean we don't care.
Right.
It doesn't mean we don't take action when we know what our action is to take. It means that we take that action from a place of, I want to call it wholeness even. I'm often reminded, Abraham Hicks, I think, was the one that started this. You can't be sick enough to help sick people. You can't be sad enough to help sad people. That somewhere along the way, we have to elevate our own consciousness and awareness so that we can truly be helpful to other people and situations. So I try to live in that when I remember.
That's beautiful. And, it really gets to I think the crux of the matter is that we acknowledge the world of events and things that are less than what we desire, but that doesn't mean we can't create a life of joy and wonder and awe and fun and have a wonderful, glorious life experience. Yes, like you said, do what we need to do in the world out there, but also create an environment there where we see what a gift our life is and to create a life that's full of events that build up that. And I think inherent in the question that we're looking at today is the fact that sometimes we make spiritual practices and spiritual stuff has to be serious.
And work. I'm going to work at my meditation practice.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, sit on that cushion and do it. Practice, practice, practice. And that's not to say that's not true, but it doesn't have to be something that is dreadful or that we're going to avoid. And in fact, if you can build a spiritual practice that's full of joy and bliss, then you're going to want to do it more. If sitting on the meditation cushion is now seen as something that is going to bring you happiness and the wonder and the mystery of life, then it's going to call you to it. If you see it as something that's drudgery and I've got to sit there for 20 minutes and try not to think thoughts and somehow or another shift my consciousness, then it seems dreadful and something to avoid. But, what we really are calling ourselves to do is to see all of our spiritual path and spiritual growth as a blissful gift and to try to shift our perspective on it so we see it that way.
And that sort of, to me, that honors the gift, right? The gift of life and the gift of self-expression and all the gifts that we do have that are not of the material world. Well, this is whether you have material or not material, right?
Right.
The gift is, and to honor the gift is to bring light and life to it. And so do you have any like things that you do to practice joy if you find yourself in the melancholy, or to bring that into you ask yourself, do you like these things? And I have another question about that too, but do you have practices around that?
Yeah. There's two ways I could answer your question. The first is when I'm making a decision, I often weigh it based on my intuition. I check my inner knowing. Much in my early life was pros and cons and weigh and which had more pros and less cons.
The list.
Yes,
the list.
Yeah, which is good to a degree. It helps feed the logical mind and it helps convince you in the direction that you want to go. But sometimes you have to step beyond the logical mind and say, does this bring me joy? Do I feel joyful? Do I feel a sense of happiness? And so in making a decision about what I want to do or not, I'll stop and ask, how do I feel about that? I know my wife is very good about that, about when she's making a decision, she stops for a moment and feels into her body and just feels how it feels for her. And it's a great model for me to do that as well. I think another method you could use is muscle testing, which would be a whole lesson to try to do that. But basically checking into the, somebody can Google muscle testing. I don't want to give a lesson of it here, but essentially using the wisdom of the body to guide you as to what's positive or negative on that. So that's one way. It's decision making. The other, I think, is just daily practices. And what do I do in the middle of something when can I reframe a moment when I'm unhappy? Can I change how I'm looking at the current events? Mm-hmm. And what I do for myself. And I won't say that it's easy. I don't want to paint the picture that I'm perfect or do this all the time. Mm-hmm. But there are times that in the midst of something that's going on, and I try to step into sort of a witnessing of what's going on. I mentally take myself out of the events for a moment and see myself as a witness to what's going on. And I look around and I see, this is wonderful. It could be people arguing, or it could be something that's less than what you would think would be a great moment. But it's easier to do it when it's a great moment, And I'll give you a quick example. It was at a family get together over the weekend, and at a certain point, I was feeling so much happiness about being there that I had to step into the witness and just acknowledge. And I sort of got quiet for a few minutes as I looked around at everybody and say, wow, what a blessing it is that I get to be in this moment with these people that I love, that we are doing this event that is, together. I'm looking at the camaraderie going on at everybody. But it doesn't have to be that sort of a blissful moment. It can be just an ordinary moment, where wow, I'm here in this moment doing this podcast with Barb. And what a blessing it is that everything is working technically, and that we are going through this, and that these conversations bring joy to me.
Yeah.
You could always look at it like, oh, this is something we agreed to do and we're going to do it.
Now I gotta work. Now I
Oh,
gotta
and I'm
work at those.
being tired and rah, 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 rah. But when we get together, it's such a joyful thing for me that it easily shifts. And
Yes, I already feel less tired than I did when I was coming into here today. I do,
me too.
you do, right? Like
Yeah.
the conversation is generative, and that I think is one of the things to look at. Like if you're looking at a decision and you can't find like what does this bring me joy? Is it generative? Does it bring life to me? Does it bring a sense of purpose or a sense of camaraderie or a sense of some sense that makes it good for you? I think I practice sometimes in the almost the other way. Like if I find myself getting caught up in the things of the world, then for me it's the turn how to turn it off. Like and it's interesting, because as we read all this neuroscience-y things and we learn more about cortisol and how much energy we have and how much energy we don't have and things like that. And so I had been reading, I'm sure I know you have too, about what happens when we get doom scrolling, or even when we just get scrolling, when we're stuck in social media and flipping the screen, regardless of what your social media is, and flipping the screen, that it is an energy depleter. And that there's a part of our minds that, like, if we're watching all these videos on, for instance, workouts, there's a part of our minds that takes that in like we're doing it, and then we don't go do it. And it's harder to go do because we've depleted our energy and our cortisol levels are crashing and all this other stuff. So I taught a class recently, and during the 4 weeks of the class, I challenged people to not get on social media until after 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And the initial pushback was really fascinating, honestly. A range of people in ages from 40 to 75.
And did they do it? And what was the reaction?
Well, the initial reaction was some of the, well, I do Instagram. Is that social media? I'm just watching reels. I'm like, yes. So initially it was sort of like, well, what am I going to do for the first 2 hours of my day? Within the first week, the people that did it came back talking about having more energy, about getting walks in that they hadn't been getting in, about feeling less depressed, all kinds of reaction to it, which was pretty fascinating in terms of just watching the impact of that simple thing. And so, like, I would say, try that out if you're a person that's picking up your phone first thing in the morning. Some of the folks in this class, they were picking up their phone or their tablet in bed before they even got out of bed in the morning.
So do you have a technique, Barb, for how you break the cycle with yourself, other than taking sort of
beating myself over the head with my phone?
Or if you're in the middle of it and you identify that you've been doom scrolling for an hour or so.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, I just have to put it down and walk away. And and sometimes it's just that, put it down, walk away. I like to go out on my patio and take a breath of actual real air and remember that there's a world outside and that it's beautiful.
That's something that I do, because I can get stuck in it, and then I go, oh my God, I've sat here for an hour doing this.
Yeah, you just have to move. I have to move my body to get out of it.
Yeah, I have to physically do something different. I have to get up and move to a different room, go outside, do something different. And, it has to be a physical movement out of the chair.
Yes, totally. Because otherwise you end up just picking it up again. Like, even it doesn't even work to like pick up the phone and make a phone call. Like I literally have to put it down and walk around or occupy myself in some other way.
Yeah.
I have to say, like, since teaching, because when I teach a class, I do the things that I ask people to do. I spend way less, just in that short time I spend now, way less time getting caught in it. And I'm finding it less and less interesting, because it's mostly ads and it's the same things over and over and over again, and the same people kind of touting the same things. So that's kind of recognizing that has been good, and moving off of it in that way. So, And the other thing is, I also, when I catch myself, if I catch myself complaining about anything, everything, whatever it is, I catch myself with, these are first world problems,
Oh yeah. Okay.
and just saying that shifts me to thinking about all the things in my life that are really easy and easeful
Yeah.
and kind of miraculous in many ways,
Yeah.
and so it's not oh, they don't have, it's really like, oh my God, you know what? I'm sitting here in this restaurant. I'm with somebody I care about, and I'm bitching about some stupid shit. Like, let's get off of that. Right. And
Yeah, I heard somebody say recently that as bad as we think everything is going in the world, et cetera. Hey, we at least have the ability to take hot showers. They couldn't do
yes,
that 100 years ago.
we have plumbing.
Yep, indoor
Yeah.
plumbing. We got if you stop and start having gratitude for all the stuff that's going on around you, that your house, safe and secure your life is, the blessings that you have around you with your books and technology and your electric lights and all
Mm.
of the modern conveniences, then you sort of realize that some of the things that we worry about are sort of trivial in the big scheme of things.
But I also really do recognize that getting caught up in what the narrative is right now around world events and politics, particularly in the United States,
Hmm.
crashes my energy level, crashes my optimism, and then I'm not acting forward, and I'm not remembering on the other side of the wall of this crap is a vision of a world that works, right?
Hmm.
And that more and more of us are in the world are really engaged in that. And um, and when we separate ourselves, I think when we separate ourselves from that energy and that knowing that things are really getting better, underneath it there are things that are getting better or will get better because so much is getting exposed and revealed and can't be ignored anymore, that that we can get into the vision of it, and that is generative and life-giving, whatever the vision, whatever your part of the vision of it is.
Sure.
So I have to believe that the world for my niece will be better than the world was for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Or as I often say, sometimes I say we may suffer short-term pains, but in the long run, there will be great and wonderful spiritual and human gains.
There
That
has to be.
there
I mean,
will.
there just has, and there always has been. That's the thing. When you look at history and how people were towards each other 100 years ago and 200 years ago, we're way better than we were. Like, the human species is way better than it was, and we just have a lot more to learn.
I want to come back and close one point we were making a moment ago about making decisions, because the does this bring me joy? Does this bring more life to me? To me, I really appreciated a statement that Ernest Holmes made in Science of Mind textbook, which I'm going to paraphrase it, but he said any kind of yardstick in making a decision that you always ask yourself, does this bring more life, joy, happiness to the moment, to your life, and harm no one?
Yes.
There's the fact that so when we look at trying to create joy and fun in our lives as a spiritual practice, and we start looking at the things that we might do, we always have to have that, and does this not harm anybody else aspect to it? Because a lot of times I think they'll justify their actions based on, well, it's my life and it's bringing me joy, but bringing you joy at the expense of somebody else's joy is not the way to go.
Right. That's a good point. Thank you. Yeah, very good point. So I was trying to think of practices for people if they want practices, and really, it's finding joy in the quiet and the silence and living from that. It's the decision making. It's the little things. Honestly, like, when I really get down to it, like, material things, the stuff of my life, I like, I love my place. I love the things, I love my books. I love the things around me. But the things that really bring true joy are my friends, are good conversation, are, hugging my cat. They're not the material things. They are the things that are of feeling and wonder and allowing ourselves some awe at just the nature of the universe. It rained last night in Colorado in July. Like, there's some beauty in that, right? Like, there's some
Yeah,
beauty.
you're getting at a point that I had a conversation with a friend yesterday that we got together for brunch, and he has just come through some surgery. And when, we're at that older stage of life where sometimes you're talking about the old stage of life.
Right.
And, and in doing that, we got to realize that one of the things that comes in life and having the experiences that we have is that so much of the stuff that we worried about at earlier stages of our life are seemingly less important now. And what we see as really important are exactly what you were talking about, the relationships, the conversations, the connections with other people. And I find that that's where the most joy, like I was talking about the family event that I just had to sit back and ask in the moment of it. It's when, and I can have so much joy alone. I'm by nature a good introvert, loner kind of person.
Yeah.
But, but I enjoy the company and camaraderie of other people and connecting with other people. And it brings me such great joy for life, so that I really, truly value that relationship aspect of connecting with another human being on some sort of meaningful and deep level.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do have a question. I'm going to take you back to the thing about decision making, but I know it would be a good decision to let people know that we are connected with the New Thought Media Network and joyfully produce this program through and with them. And so we'd like to ask you to take a moment to hear a little bit about them and how you can support them and our show at the same time.
Stop the video if you need to, scan the QR code. No donation is too small or too large.
Exactly.
We hope you're enjoying Conversations in Mind. This program is made possible by the New Thought Media Network, a nonprofit that's supporting conscious, spiritual media. If you'd like to support this work, just scan the QR code to make a donation. It lets the network know you like this show and helps them to continue bringing you this type of content. You can also go to ntmedia.org and click on Donate. Thank you for being part of the conversation. Now, back to the show.
Thanks.
Be sure to leave your comments, questions, likes, shares, everything that every person on the internet tells you to do.
Exactly. We're all begging for the same thing. Just a little attention, please.
Wave this around in front of your friends.
Here's a sample of joy. We just do this. We don't even know if anyone's watching.
But we do appreciate the people who do watch and the comments and likes that we get. So thank you very much.
Absolutely.
So you got a question you wanted to bring up about a moment ago.
I do. So the devil's advocate in me wants to play this one. There are people in the world who would say that decision making by what brings me joy is not real. That life is hard and supposed to be work, and anyone who's deciding what avenue to take just based on what brings them joy is not really may not be contributing or may not be working hard enough. Or who are you to just be happy? Like, I don't know why I feel like I need to put that out there, but it kind of came up like, oh my God, you're kind of wussing out because you're just doing the things that make you happy. And we're supposed to do the grindy things and the things that are hard. And,
one answer to that is the fact that if I don't take care of the responsibilities of the things around me, then they're going to bite me in the butt.
Still got to do the dishes, right?
So, yes, cleaning the house. Yes, fixing that switch that needs to be replaced. If I don't change a burnt out light bulb, I'm going to not have joy by the fact that the light bulb hasn't been switched and I've got a dark area of the house. I could go on and on, but everything that's maybe in and of itself as an individual item, I might not look at it as something that's joyful. But at the same time, if I don't do it, it's going to lead to less joy in my life. And so I think I can look at it that way. But then I would encourage us to also start looking at even the experiences that we don't find joyful, how can we find joy in them? How can I reframe washing dishes from being something that's a have to do to something that I like to do? And that doesn't mean I want to wash dishes 24/7, but it does mean that I enjoy a clean kitchen. I enjoy having clean dishes that are there for me to, when I need a dish to eat something on, and can I bring that to the experience of actually washing it? There's lots of things that I don't enjoy doing, but I do enjoy. One thing I like to do is sit down and create a list, because sometimes I get forgetful and I think, oh, I need to do that. I need to do that. So I like crossing things off on a to-do list.
Oh,
I
yeah.
have to write stuff down, and the very nature of, oh, look at this. I was going to do this today and I got it done. I can cross off those things. That sense of accomplishment brings me joy. But it can also take us into a deeper area, which I'm going to pause here, but I'm going to say one of the things that I know that people sometimes question is, I like to use the phrase that many spiritual teachers talk about, in the fact that we exist here for the bliss of the divine.
Mm-hmm.
And so how can we reconcile that we're here for the bliss of the divine when we look at a wide array of activities that we get involved with in our humanness? And they could go on one end is those joyful moments of relationship and love and bliss and things that I'm in nature and I just feel overwhelmed by awe. We all have these wonderful, wonderful moments. And then at the other end of it is I'm in physical pain and emotional pain and these moments of if you've ever experienced deep grief and you're overwhelmed by a grief event, that they take over and consume your life. And we can look at this sort of stratification of, grief to awe and wonder moments, and all the ones in between. And how can we say everything on that spectrum is for the bliss of the divine? We tend to want to only put the ones over here on the far end that are truly joyful for me as this human being, Mark, walking around in this world.
Yeah, the ice cream moments, right?
Yeah, ice cream moments, or ecstasy moments, orgasm moments, whatever you want to call it. There are those moments.
There, I'll call it ice cream.
But we know what we're talking about, those moments that are so deeply blissful. It's very easy to say, oh, the divine is getting a lot of bliss in this moment. But how can those other moments, including the mundane doing of my to-dos list, be for the bliss of the divine? There lies a good question.
That is. And that's, I would say, a couple of things. One is that we have very human judgment about those experiences. And when they're hard, grief is hard, right? It really is. It's hard to look at being in grief and saying, oh, this is blissful for something else, because mostly it sucks. But also, grief is a reflection of love. We don't grieve what we did not love.
Right.
And so I think that, that's that spectrum of feeling, but grief is truly an honoring of love in every way imaginable. And so, there it is again. It's always love, right? It's always love in some way, shape, or form. And I think that's the experience.
Yeah.
And even in our grief, if we can look at our own, if we can sit in it and remember that I am, I'm having this grief because I had great love. Does it make it all better? No. Does it give you a moment of maybe being able to breathe? Absolutely. And I think that's part of it, and it's all just part of the experience. And if we can lift out of those things for a few moments, and let me just say that this, I have spent a lot of time in the last couple of years not remembering this, but if you can just lift out of it for a few moments and see what is around you, then that is also the experience that the divine gets in it, is yes, you're having grief, and yes, you're looking at this tree and you're in awe. And all of those things run together. And it's kind of beautiful in many ways, but I think we can cultivate it, and sometimes it's a practice to cultivate it, especially if we're depressed and in grief and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just remembering once a day, I'm going to brush my teeth and I'm going to be happy that my teeth feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One question, just to come back to grief for a second, is that when I've had deep grief, or other people have, the question that always comes to mind, and I agree with you 100% on the fact that it's only there because of the deep love experiences that you had. It's easy to say, would you go through that experience again of the love, knowing that it's going to be coupled with the loss? And for me, the answer is always yes.
Totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And as deeply as the pain is of the grief, the joy of the love overcompensates for the grief. And I think if we can continuously look at it from the perspective of that, it will help us navigate through the grief a little bit more. But one other thing that I often try to, and it gets back to that sort of witness thing again, is that, I often say, where consciousness is not coming through us. Consciousness got embedded into us. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. We are these people walking around in this third dimension of time and relationships for an experience of something that's greater and higher than us. And so when we can step out of the human realm and to a degree, taste and touch the spiritual realm, be it in meditation or any other practices that we have, it gives us a glimmer of what that bliss of the divine is like. It recognizes that all of the human experiences that are on a spectrum of, the most wonderful experiences to the worst experiences by our human standards of defining them that way, at the higher level, we're having experiences. And the very nature that those experiences are allowing the oneness of the universe, the bliss, the spirit, the God, to have this experience. It's having the experience of the relationship of parts moving against each other through a sequence of time is the blissful experience the divine is getting. It's only in the human level that we say, oh, this is good and this is bad, because we're having those experiences at our human level. But the more that we can lift our consciousness beyond the human level and think and experience life from a divine level, we see that everything is in a right order. Everything is in right and divine order. It almost becomes like I know it becomes clichéic. We say that so much in New Thought. It's all in right and divine order.
Yeah.
We sometimes
you just want to smack somebody that says that. Yeah.
And on one level, it can be used as a sort of like bypass mechanism for overcoming something that you're going to. But on a deeper level, there really is, when we can see things from a higher spiritual vantage point and look down upon the material life and all of its experiences, then we begin to see that, oh, everything was interconnected. Oh, this led to that. Oh, that bad thing led to this good thing. Oh,
yes, that's what I was going to add, is like on the other side of these things, especially when we don't avoid them and we go through them and we allow them to heal and we allow them to move us forward in some way spiritually, on the other side of that is always something greater, because we have built our capacity.
Right.
We have deep grief because we had deep love. And in the grieving and not avoiding the grieving, I think we build capacity for greater love.
Yeah. And the bypassing is putting a Band-Aid over the pain and not dealing with it and saying, okay,
it's all good.
It's all good. It's all in right and divine order.
Yeah.
And then not dealing with it, and it comes back around and around and around until you deal with it and learn the lessons and move on, until you can actually move through the experiences that we're called to experience. And the interesting thing is that really to see that experience as being for the bliss of the divine, which is so hard, because back to my spectrum for a minute, easy to see the really, really good ones, but the spiritual practice is, in those mundane moments, can you see this as being a blissful moment? And the more you can start looking at your life as, oh, even just crawling under the car to try to fix something is a blissful moment. Oh, just dusting the house is a blissful moment. Everything that I'm doing can be a blissful moment. That's a conscious choice that we can bring to bear in every moment. But we tend to go, oh, I've just got to wash the damn dishes, and get through this, and then I'll be able to do the fun stuff. How can we?
I just had a really great meal. That was the fun stuff, and now I'm going to clean up after it, and therefore continue the expression of that thing.
Yeah. And when the painful moments come, to try to have the experiences that you've dealt through previously serve as an anchor for you to say, well, I've gone through bad things before, and let's delve into this and find out what I need to learn in this and push through it and know that it's going to come out on the other side and with growth and happiness and evolution for me.
Yeah. And being okay with sometimes you just get stuck in it and your friends get to love you. And that's, the whole, yeah.
Pool, stuck in that little eddy, floating around.
It is. Sometimes you just got to be there for a little bit. And sometimes it's just so that you can allow people to love you up a little bit, and to be good in that. Yeah, it's interesting. I keep coming back to you keep talking about this as, being like an experience for the divine. And I keep kind of coming back to, yes, and it is an honoring of the life, of this opportunity to live and be alive and experience and express this amazing universe that we've planted ourselves in some way, shape, or form. And we could go to that at some future show. Like, did we choose to be here? And I believe that we did. So maybe we don't need to have that show, but
on both points. We might do the show anyway, but I agree.
Yeah, that might be a good one.
I'm here, yeah.
Next week. No, this opportunity to more deeply experience the life that we have given ourselves at this point, and to then honor it and appreciate it, and appreciate the things we appreciate grow, right? So if we're doing the dishes and we're appreciating the meal that we just had, then, those things grow on us.
Yeah, to me, it's the meaning of that, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. Right. And it doesn't mean that we don't have on the spiritual path grow and become more aware of the spiritual unity of the universe and our place in it, and that there are this higher dimension where at the divine level, everything is in bliss for that oneness. But even if we're totally aware of that, we still come back into this physical life. And like you're saying, we have to live these lives, but now we do so with a greater awareness, a greater compassion for our other fellow spiritual travelers in the oneness.
And especially the ones who are struggling in any way now, or at any time. Yeah.
Yes. And with that, we can either look at life as something that is crap that we're having to get through and we're in competition with other people, or we can look at life as a wonderful gift that we've been given, and that other people are somebody that are blessings to us, that teach us lessons and give us an opportunity to love and be in relationship. But it's all how we frame it. And the spiritual path and learning to taste that unity and that divine consciousness brings us back into the world with a greater higher. But we can't stay there and avoid it. I think we've said this in prior episodes. You can't go into enlightenment states. You still have to live in the world of form.
Yeah, we do.
You do it with greater awareness and greater wisdom.
Yeah. And so, I would also say, like, let's stop postponing joy. We talk about the world as it is today in a way that we're not going to be happy until it's a different way.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm really getting the sense it's not going to be a different way until we get happy. It's that thing of the universe where we're always required to go first, right?
Yeah.
So like, let's get happy, and then the shift and the change and the energy movement will coalesce around that happiness and around that joy and around that sense of awe and wonder, rather than the opposite. But I think now that in just this moment, this is just coming in, like, we have to go first. We have to find that first, and then let that energy attract and create and build and become what we become next.
It's like everything in life, Barb. If you think that you have to have everything here all done before you can have what you're wanting. And so many times we do that. We put so many little check mark boxes in the way of our joy and happiness.
Yeah. We postpone love. We postpone joy. We postpone all kinds of things. And
throw the things away and jump right to it.
Yeah.
And it's not being not responsible for your life. It's, the things that you have to do, but it's finding ways to bring more joy into life right now. So if there's something calling you to joy, what are you waiting on? Let's do it. Get out in nature. Play the guitar.
Play the guitar.
Find that love.
Have the moment, right?
So what are you doing right now to bring yourself joy?
Oh God, so many things. I'm getting ready to go to Europe for 5 weeks. My life is really good. And honestly, sometimes what brings me joy is 20 minutes by myself in my chair with my book. And that's good for me, it's the little things right now. I mean, Europe is like a big thing, but for me, really the joy is mostly the little things. And, I'm dating somebody wonderful, and that's time that all of a sudden takes a lot of my time. And that is really happy making. So, but I was already happy when we met. And I think, that's that thing of creating the field from a place of joy and happiness that brings more joy and happiness into your life. What are you doing? What are you doing?
Oh, my life is, people start gagging if they're listening to this, that we have these wonderful, wonderful lives, but I really feel like I do. Walking my dog every day. I love that dog so much. She's 9 years old, chocolate lab, and being with my wife in conversation, sometimes just sitting down and streaming something on TV, that we both like. And just
I'm super happy to watch TV these days. Like sometimes I'm really just happy to do it.
Getting out in there. I love being outside when it's not too hot or not too cold, I guess, and just enjoying the ambiance of nature. We have a camper van. I enjoy getting out in the camper van and just going someplace and just being outside, sleeping in the van, going out for walks. Cooking meal, going out for a good meal, it brings me joy. But the real challenge is for me of those things that are in the borderline that I was talking about on that stratification of trying to shift myself into seeing those as joy-filled moments as well. Right now, every morning I get up and there are bindweed flowers in my backyard, and I go out and I pick every one of those little white flowers and a lot of the bindweed itself.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was a drudgery at first, but now it's like something I do. I'm out in the yard.
The bindweed challenge.
I'm getting my hands in the dirt and in nature.
Yeah, it is. Whether it's weeds or flowers, right? So you said something though. I want to go back to. You said we're going to make people gag because of that, and I'm like, okay. I would challenge all of us who are listening, who are you and I, to be happy for other people's happiness.
Yeah.
I get why you said that, because we sound foofy la in some ways, but also it's true. Like we do, we do sometimes get annoyed by other people being too happy. And so I think that would be something that I would want to look at if that came up in my life. Like if I was going, oh my God, they're so happy all the time. Well, let's be happy for other people's happiness. Let's celebrate other people's joys and other people's wins, and celebrate those moments with and for other people. Because again, it creates that energy field of accepting that in for ourselves. And so if we're not feeling that in our life and we're not experiencing it, find someone to be happy for about it, and watch the shift in your own life begin to happen.
Mm-hmm. Because at some deep level, we're interconnected with that other person.
Totally. Totally. And if they're too happy and we're annoyed by that, well, then where are we blocking our willingness to be that happy?
That's 100% agree with you, Barb.
Yeah. Well, that was a good final. That was a good finale, I would say. Let's not block our joy. We had this phrase in my old church that started up with some of our younger folks. We would call each other out for God blocking. And this is right. So yeah, so those things are totally like, where are we God blocking, and stop it.
Well, this has been a fun conversation. I hope that people listening had as much fun as we did.
Go have some joy. We appreciate you listening. We'd love to hear your comments and your feedback, and if you have any suggestions for upcoming episodes, we'd love to hear those too. I hope you have a joyful week.
Thank you for your time. Take care.